Welcome back, everybody. So glad to be here. So glad I'm back. I've been on the road for work. Been on the road. Had to drive to Satan's Armpit, California. Had a great time. How's everybody doing? Hey, BB. Pyro. Mexi Girl, how you doing? Who else we got here? Dawn. Hello, Dawn. Spider Fate. Good to see y'all. I'm back. Had a lot of work. Did some sidebar missions as well that are classified for now. But hilarious, and you'll see that eventually. Yeah. Been out and about. Having a good time. Info. What's up, Info Rabbit? How you doing? Guys, it's going crazy. Things are going nuts. So much is going on. While the Republican Party breaks Grindr in Arizona, the rest of the world is burning. Not the same way. Not in the same way. We got Russia. We got current Russia violations of Estonian airspace with MiG-31s. We got drone incursions in Poland. We got GPS interference in the Kaliningrad region, reported by, I believe it was Spain that reported that. Yeah, Spanish defense minister. Airspace violations in the Baltics. Oh, and we got military exercises in Belarus, the Zabad, which India did send people to join in, which we will get into a little more. How's everybody doing today? I'm on my third cup of coffee. It's been a kind of a crazy morning. We're dialed in though, guys. We are dialed in. We're dialed in. We got some topics I wanted to cover. I got some articles also that are kind of flying under the radar I wanted to get into a little bit. Maybe not so much under the radar, but we're going to get up to date on some stuff that's happening overseas with Russia and China and why they are preparing for a generational war, which is very, very apparent. Arise the sleeping dragon, not the paper tiger, as some might say. Many say. Many say things are getting worse. Things are indeed getting worse. Where should we kick off? We'll kick off with some feed. No, we'll do the feeds later. I got some clips for you. I want to get into a couple topics though. We'll cover a little bit at a time here. We'll bring over the X, if you will. This is what happens when Russian provocations meet no pushback. Russian warplanes breached NATO airspace over Estonia. Russian MiG-31s flew into Estonian airspace and approached Tallinn before NATO jets were scrambled to intercept them. I think we all knew about that one. We're gonna do article at a time, though. I got a lot of articles here. Getting warmed up. Another thing I wanted to bring up. I'm gonna read this real quick. Special Here Song Cat posted this. Rosatom subsidiary CEO found dead near Moscow. In the Moscow suburb, the body of Alexander Tuyunin, head of the Umatex Rosatom subsidiary, was discovered. Russian media reported that it was a shmumashmide. This case adds to the growing list of sudden and mysterious deaths among high-ranking Russian businessmen and officials. What Russian CEO is doing? Thank you for the 3-month membership, BB. Shout out to the awesome Chungalites here today. Thank you guys. Guys, I was going to rename the channel. I'm holding off. I'm sticking with it. I'm not going to rename it now. I renamed the gaming channel. That was easy. But I'm sticking with it. This is what people know me by. I'm not trying to do crazy stuff right now. We got to grow the channel a little more. Got a sub dropping off about a week right now. Hasn't really grown much. We're kind of plateauing, so we're going to hit it a little harder coming up in the future. Things have stabilized at the home front for me. So we should be able to grow the channel a little more. We're going to cover a little Russia incursions and escalations. And the head topic right here. Russia talks peace but pushes war into kids' lives. Our new report, Kids with Drones, show just how aggressively the state is weaving military thinking into everyday life, starting with kids. So they are planning for a long conflict, guys. A long conflict, despite what Donald Trump says, that their economy is collapsing and they have no gasoline, blah, 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 blah. What they have is they have China backing them. They have a huge superpower backing them, and whether or not they're struggling, they still have troops and they have children, stolen children and their own, which they are beginning to weaponize. Since 2023, Russia has been actively promoting drone technology among children. Across dozens of regions, schools are being equipped with specialized classrooms for drone training. The Ministry of Education has issued a UAV 101 textbook and Kremlin-backed patriotic centers, often run by active war veterans. These are teaching children war-related skills such as FPV piloting and firearms practice. Not only that, they're teaching a lot of hatred in there too. It's crazy how they're doing this. An Open Minds investigation found that in just the first 7 months of 2025, drone-related publications increased sixfold compared to all of 2022. We have all explored the key events in drones promotion among children from kindergartners to universities. Hundreds of machines, thousands of workers, and wherever you look, young people everywhere. Boys and girls work here, and they also study at vocational schools here. This quote comes from a report by the pro-Kremlin TV channel Zvezda at the end of July 2025, showcasing the Alabuga factory, a major hub for assembling Shahed drones, which are being produced at an increasing scale and used in attacks on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure such as residential buildings, the energy grid, and even kindergartens. Some characters of the report are school children, roughly the age of 15. So it's very apparent to me they are not going to stop this conflict. They're still pushing on the front, and despite what Donald Trump says, that Russia is failing, Ukraine's going to take their land too, which is crazy work for him to even say. It just shows that he is going to pull out. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He's playing this both sides bullcrap. He's not playing both sides. He's supporting Russia. He's making it seem like Russia's already defeated. We don't need to help, blah, blah, blah. It's a bunch of hooey. Oh, but 10 gifteds from BB. Thank you, BB, for the 10 gifteds. Thank you very much. Thank you for supporting the channel. So, a part of Svedza's report, there was another notable event in July. 6 kindergartners in Perm set up infrastructure for drone operations. The announcement drew significant attention from Russian Telegram channels, generating 300 posts that day, more than double the 2022 monthly average of 121. So they are preparing their children for war, a global conflict, if you will. And we're just kind of sitting by talking about good old Charlie here at home, not really doing much to prepare for what really matters, a geopolitical nightmare. Geopolitical nightmare is what we're kind of falling into. We got Donald Trump getting cut off on the escalator. I'm not playing that. That was silly. I don't know who did that, but that's a clear, I mean, it's a clear indicator. No one takes him seriously. Nobody likes this man. Nobody. A little bit more here. India crossed the red line. Modi sent troops to Russia and Belarus exercises against NATO. So India got involved in this, guys. Narendra Modi has sent troops to take part in the Zapad exercises, rehearsing conflict with neighboring NATO countries as relations with the US unravel. India sent 65 troops to participate in the Zapad 2025 exercises where Russia and Belarus are practicing war with NATO. Delhi's move is seen as an open challenge to the U.S. and Europe, especially given Modi's severance to ties with Washington. Severance of ties to Washington. Doesn't want to be with Washington because we're a joke right now. Everybody knows it. We flip-flop. We can't keep a sentence. We can't go in front of the United Nations without a teleprompter. We sit there and we spread hate and say all your countries are going to hell. Manufactured crisis. But then he tells them they're all going to hell. There is a real crisis, guys, but we're gonna stay out of the real crisis and make our own. Apparently, that's the thing to do nowadays. Is why would you want to get involved in a real crisis when you can manufacture them at home, right? And just ignore it, right? These people are getting rich on this too. It's crazy, 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 crazy. Ooh, that's a good article. I didn't see that one. I'll keep that one. Actually, I'll keep that one later. We're going to keep on track. I don't want to go skibbity. So here's some more of what's going on, guys. In Russia, Russian authorities have established a network of 210 facilities where Ukrainian children were sent for re-education. This is reported by the Humanitarian Research Laboratory at Yale School of Public Health, HRL. The geography of these facilities spans numerous regions of Russia and annexed areas of Ukraine. 4 locations where Ukrainian children were taken are situated in the Primorsky Krai. Now, one woman, I believe, one woman was able to get her kid back. She was actually went there and rescued him, which is courageous as hell. I can't believe, I think it might have been in Crimea. Might have been in Crimea. But she got her kid back from the facilities, and yeah, they were fed Russian propaganda all day. Kind of like all the prisoners of war fed the same propaganda too, like Ukraine's over, they're gone, they don't exist, glory to Russia, and such nonsense. Researchers found that the majority of these places are summer camps and sanatoriums. However, the network of Russian authorities also includes cadet schools, medical institutions, a military base, a monastery, and other sites. The report notes that many of these facilities were specifically renovated to accommodate Ukrainian children. Of the 210 locations, 106 are directly controlled by Russian authorities. HRL reports that propaganda lessons are conducted in more than half of the facilities, 61.9%, where Ukrainian children are sent. According to the researchers, minors are forced to attend lectures on history and geopolitics, visit museums, sing the Russian anthem, and participate in programs dedicated to Russian patriotic themes. They must be doing drinking games, I don't know. Additionally, all activities are conducted exclusively in the Russian language. The Yale School reports that at least 39 facilities provided military training for children. According to the researchers, minors age 8 to 17 underwent such training. Such training. I don't know about you guys, but man, my kids are ready to be FPV operators with all the freaking VR they play. Pretty crazy. Teach other kids how to fight. It's happening. I mean, that just shows you they're not going to stop. This is going to be continued. Continued conflict, guys. Look, they're teaching them how to kill Ukrainians.
Кое-кто из ребят справлялся с задачей довольно уверенно.
У меня папа десантником работает.
My father is a paratrooper. He works in the military.
Военным, и он решил меня научить.
And he decided to teach me
обращаться с
how to handle an automatic rifle.
Чтобы
so I could follow his footsteps.
Я впоследствии мог пойти по его стопам. Сначала
At first, it was uncomfortable.
было непривычно. Отец
Father said, imagine that you're killing Ukrainians. Not saying that word.
говорил, представь, что убиваешь хохлов. И потом уже
And then my hands did everything automatically for me.
руки сами стали все делать.
Yeah, see, it's that easy for him, right? All you gotta do is pretend you're killing Ukrainians and it comes naturally. Naturally. Natural born killers of Ukrainians is what they're stating. Folks, there will be no negotiations in this. There will be no peace talks. Russia needs to be defeated. They have indoctrinated their children. Now these children have been born in, I mean, they're being born into knowing only war and to hate. It's getting a little worse. Join the Discord if you haven't, please. Oh, yes, drop any links you got there. Hey, Steve, good to see you here. So let's get in a little bit of, I know people were covering what Donald Trump was saying at the UN. I want to take a peek at Zelensky's speech. The whole thing, uninterrupted. And then I also want to check in on, I believe it was Slovakia talked. We'll go into that. Let's take a break from the music. Let's listen to President Zelensky and what he had to say at the General Assembly of the United Nations.
Au nom de l'Assemblée générale, je tiens à
On behalf
remercier
of the
le
General
roi
Assembly, I
d'Espagne.
wish to thank the King of Spain.
L'Assemblée va entendre
L'Assemblée
l'allocution de son
will
Excellence
now hear an
Monsieur
address by
Volodymyr
His Excellency
Zelensky,
Volodymyr
président de
Zelensky,
l'Ukraine.
President of
Je
Ukraine.
prie le protocole de bien vouloir
I
accompagner
request
son Excellence
protocol
que
to
j'invite
escort
à
His
prendre la
Excellency
parole.
and
Spider
invite
Fate, there
His
is
Excellency
legislation
to
that
address
they're trying to pass to get some of the kids home, but we'll see.
Madam Chair, Deputy Secretary. Dear leader,
Before we start this, I'm gonna be quite honest. I don't think they're gonna get the Ukrainian kids home. I don't believe it's gonna happen. I think it's all for show. It is a Republican. It might be a bipartisan bill, but I don't believe it's gonna happen. I've heard a lot of this and that. Those children are probably not coming back from Russia. You know, even a lot of Ukrainians even know that. So, as sad as it is, okay, we'll see. We'll see. If it gets really bad in Russia, and we start actually formulating a plan to put more pressure other than freaking very strong tariffs, come on. We need more than tariffs. We need to show them who's boss.
leaders, dear friends, and all those who can become our friends, because you want safety and peace just as much as we do. Today, no one but ourselves can guarantee security. Only strong alliances, only strong partners, and only our own weapons. The 21st century isn't much different from the past. If a nation wants peace, it still has to work on weapons. It's sick. But that's the reality. Not international law, not cooperation. Weapons decide who survives. Excellencies, you know perfectly well international law doesn't work fully unless you have powerful friends who are truly willing to stand up for it. And even that doesn't work without weapons. It's terrible, but without it, things would be even worse. There are no security guarantees except friends and weapons. No Ukrainian choice this kind of reality. And knowing our people, they would have chosen a different priority. Ukrainians are peaceful people, but they are people who want to live freely in their own.
How ironic would that be that Ukraine would be a weapons manufacturing country? Wouldn't that be ironic if we started buying weapons from them?
Independent country. That's why we invest in defense.
Oh, yeah, even
for
better.
many nations.
You know what we could do is they could sell the weapons to NATO and we could buy them from NATO. How about that?
There is simply no other way left. Nations can speak about their pain from stages like this, but even during bloodshed, there isn't a single international institution that can truly stop it. That's how weak these institutions have become. What can Sudan or Somalia or Palestine or any other people living through war really expect from the UN or the global system? For decades, just statements and statements. And even everything happening in Gaza remains without a way out. Even now, Syria, after all the changes, still has to appeal to the world to ease the sanctions that are choking its economy. It has to ask and wait. Syria deserves stronger support from the international community. And as Russia's war against my country goes on, people are still dying every week. Yet there is no ceasefire because Russia refuses.
He's right, though. Syria is going to fall to more terrorist organizations if we don't help them stabilize the democracy. If we don't get involved, it's the same thing that happened when the Soviet Union collapsed. If we take the pat on the back and we say, oh, Assad's gone, Russia failed, it's just going to fall into a cesspool.
Russia abducted thousands of Ukrainian children, and we have brought some of them back. And I thank everyone who's helped. But how long will it take to bring all of them home? Childhood slips away faster than adults are able to help. Look at Israel. Nearly 2 years have passed and hostages still haven't been freed. They must be freed, but even that still hasn't happened. And for years, there have been no real answers to other threats, either chemical weapons and famine used as a weapon. Last year, at this assembly, I warned
We got to get hats that say Zelensky was right about everything.
the world about the risk of radiation disasters, especially due to Russia's occupations of our Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, the biggest in Europe, but nothing's changed. Nothing's. And yesterday, the plant went into blackout again, and Russia hasn't stopped shelling even in areas near a nuclear facility. And because of international institutions are too weak, this madness continues. Even being part of a long-standing military alliance doesn't automatically mean you are safe. Just recently, 19 simple Russian drones violated Polish airspace, and only 4 were shut down. Luckily, they were not Shaheeds or even worse. Otherwise, the results would have been horrific. Estonia had to call a UN Security Council meeting for the first time in history because Russian fighter jets deliberately entered its airspace. Moldova is defending itself again from Russia's interference. We are helping Moldova, and Russia's trying to do to Moldova what Iran once did to Lebanon. And the global response, again, not enough. We have already lost Georgia in Europe. Human rights and the European nature of the state system are only shrinking there. Georgia is dependent on Russia. And for many, many years, Belarus has also been moving toward dependence on Russia. Europe cannot afford to lose Moldova too. It's important to remember how the world once ignored the need to help Georgia after Russia's
What is going on with Sierra Leone? Taking a nap over there? Are we listening intently or are we taking a nap?
attack, and how the moment was missed with Belarus. How Moldova must not be lost. And for Europe, supporting Moldova's stability is not costly, but failing to do so would come at a much higher price. That's why the EU needs to help Moldova now with funding and energy support, not just words or political gestures. We must not forget about protecting the rights of people and the rights of nations in regions where these rights are under threat. The UN Charter and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights must apply everywhere. But the Taliban in Afghanistan dragged a whole country back into the dark ages. Cartels in some Latin America countries are more powerful than the government there. This is all about collapse of international law and the weakness of the international institutions. And so it's about the rise of weapons. Weapons decide who survives. Excellencies, yesterday President Trump stood right here in this hall, and God saved him from a murder attempt during the campaign. A shot was fired from a rifle, and just a fraction of an inch saved his life. Just days ago, President, along with hundreds of thousands of Americans, honored the memory of Charlie Kirk. Sadly, his life was cut short by a bullet once again.
Yeah, they sure celebrated, I guess. Reports are that Grindr went down in the Arizona region, and also the amount of trans porn that was being generated from Pornhub was collapsing their server.
Violence with a rifle in hand. We also mourn the Ukrainian woman, Irina Zarutska. She was brutally killed
I mean, it sounds like
with
a party.
knife here in America, the very country where she was seeking refuge from Russia's war. And almost every day when we open the news, we see headlines about violent attacks happening all around the world. Most of it is done with weapons. People are already used to, but
Guys, hit
weapons
the like
are
if you haven't already, please.
evolving faster than our ability to defend ourselves. Now, there are tens of thousands of people who know how to professionally kill using drones. Stopping that kind of attack is harder than stopping any gun,
Hey, Cypher.
knife, or bomb. This is what Russia has brought with its war. It used to be that only the strongest countries could use drones because they were expensive and complex. Now, even simple drones can fly thousands of kilometers. War tech doesn't care about geography anymore. It's now reshaping it. Just recently, airports in Europe had to shut down because of drones. Authorities couldn't even say what kind of drones they were, who sent them, or from where.
Well, we already know what types of drones they were. And also in Poland, I don't know if you guys know this, but over, I believe it was one of the Capitol buildings, there were 2 Belarusians that were held, were detained for flying a drone over the Capitol building.
Last week, North Korea announced the test of a tactical strike drone. That means even countries with limited resources can now build weapons that are dangerous to their neighbors. Ukraine and nations like Saudi Arabia know all too well how dangerous Iranian attack drones are. But what happens when all the types of drones become available, even to small terrorist groups or cartels? The world moves too slowly to protect itself, and weapons move fast. Now companies are already working on drones that can shoot down other drones, and it's only a matter of time, not much, before drones are fighting drones, attacking critical infrastructure and targeting people all by themselves, fully autonomous and no human involved, except the few who control AI systems. Dear leaders, we are now living through the most destructive arms race in human history, because this time includes artificial intelligence. And if there are no real security guarantees except friends and weapons, and if the world can't respond even to old threats, and if there is no strong platform for international security, will there be any place left on Earth that's still safe for people? We need global rules now for how AI can be used in weapons, and this is just as urgent as preventing the spread of nuclear weapons. We need to restore international cooperation, real working cooperation for peace and for security. A few years from now might already be too late. 10 years ago, war looked different, and no one imagined that cheap drones could create dead zones, areas stretching for dozens of kilometers where nothing moves, no vehicles, no life. People used to imagine that only after a nuclear strike. Now it's drawn reality. Mass-produced, simple drones, and without AI yet. Ukraine doesn't have the big fat missiles dictators love to show off in parades, but we do have drones that can fly up to 2,000-3,000 kilometers. We had no choice but to build them to protect our right to life. control over the sea used to depend on having a big navy. Ukraine doesn't have a big fleet, but we succeeded. In the Black Sea, we pushed what's left of the Russian navy into remote base. And we did it with sea drones. That's how we protect our ports and maritime trade routes, because Russia has left us no other choice. And our Spiderweb operation, when cheap drones destroyed or damaged dozens of expensive Russian strategic bombers, became a real example for special forces around the world of what new weapons can do to old systems. These very Russian bombers attacked our cities. And none of this would have happened if Putin had not started this full-scale aggression, full-scale war. And every year that this war goes on, weapons become even more deadly. And only Russia deserves to be blamed for this. Dear leaders, to protect lives, Ukraine builds underground schools and underground hospitals. To protect lives, we have to spend more on protecting power stations from drone and missile attacks than on building sports facilities or cultural infrastructure. Ukrainian farmers are learning how to protect their equipment from Russia's FPV drone strikes, and for them...
Yeah, recently there was a really famous farmer. He was killed. I think it might have been in the Kherson region, but he had been fending off the drones and just going out there and plowing his fields with a shotgun. And he had been out for a long time. Unfortunately, he was killed recently.
That challenge is far greater than climate change. Russia's war has put us in this situation.
Hey, Prez.
But do you have protection against similar threats? The facts are simple. Stopping this war now, and with it, the global arms race, is cheaper than building underground kindergartens or massive bunkers for critical infrastructure later. Stopping Putin now is cheaper than trying to protect every port and every ship from terrorists with sea drones.
100%, it's going to be cheaper to do it now. It's going to be less costly now if we help than it will be in the long run. And things are escalating over in the Baltics, for sure. Belarus, there's already a secret construction going in Belarus. It looks like they're redoing an old Soviet nuclear facility. So in my mind, there's no doubt that the Russian soldiers and Belarusian soldiers are going to go into Estonia. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. There's not going to be a nuclear conflict breaking out. They'll say, we'll nuke you, we'll nuke you. They're going to start slowly taking back these countries. And with the current talks from our administration saying they're washing their hands of it, they're backing away, blah, blah, blah. Ukraine's doing so great. Russia's a paper tiger. They're not in it for the long haul. Their economy's collapsing. This is bullshit. Bullshit. They have plenty of more resources. They have plenty more countries backing them. China, India, Iran, and more. They're getting their children ready for a global conflict. Things are going to get worse. The little countries in NATO will fall first. It's not going to be this big nuclear arsenal attack. We're not going to do that. It's going to be troops on the ground, and Estonia is getting ready. Lithuania is getting ready. All the small countries are getting ready because they see what's happening. It's already started.
Stopping Russia now is cheaper than wondering who will be the first to create a simple drone carrying a nuclear warhead. So we must use everything we have together to force the aggressor to stop. And only then do we have a real chance that this arms race will not end in catastrophe for all of us. If it takes weapons to do it, if it takes pressure on Russia, then it must be done. And it must be done now. Otherwise, Putin will keep driving the war forward wider and deeper. And we told you before, Ukraine is only the first. And now Russian drones are already flying across Europe. And Russian operations are already spreading across countries. And Putin wants to continue this war by expanding it. And no one can feel safe right now. So first, we are now building a new security architecture for ourselves. More than 30 countries are already part of our coalition, and we are strengthening army, launching joint weapons production with partners, and defining financial commitments for defense in a way that could become a security model for any other nation. If security guarantees work for Ukraine, something more than just friends and weapons, it will mean that people were able to make national security not a privilege for a few nations, but a right for everyone. Second, we are ready to make our modern weapons become your modern security, your modern weapon. And we have decided to open up arms exports. And these are powerful systems tested in a real war when every international institution failed. And we are also
Think about Ukraine becoming the global leader on exports of weaponry. Because all of our high-tech weaponry, all of our expensive weaponry, it's overpriced. Most of the platforms need the United States manufacturing companies to support them with maintenance. These systems that Ukraine is developing are low cost, effective, and can take out multi-million-dollar systems. I mean, they are looking to be the global leader with the appropriate backing and support. They can do it on their own, no doubt. They can do it on their own, but they're still under attack every day. So wherever they're building these systems, they are vulnerable. They are. But can you imagine that? How things can flip just all of a sudden? Ukraine becomes the #1 leader in weapons exports to the rest of the world because of Russian aggression. It's a wild concept.
so ready to grow our defense production together with strong partners so that their protection is modern and reliable. You don't need to start this race from scratch. We're ready to share what has already proven itself in real defense. And third, many in the world still relaxed. Still. But look at how many countries are here at this General Assembly, countries that are at war, or just came out of war, or are trying to stop one, or openly getting ready for one. War has already reached too many people to pretend it has nothing to do with you. So it depends on you. Whether you help peace or continue trading with Russia and helping Russia to fund this war, it depends on you. Whether prisoners of war will be freed, whether abducted children will come home, whether hostages will be free, it depends on you. What will define existence? War like now, or our joint strong actions as it should be? Yesterday we had a good meeting with President Trump, and I also spoke with many other strong leaders, and together we can change a lot. Of course, we are doing everything to make sure Europe truly helps. And of course, we count on the United States. I appreciate the support we are receiving. Yes, much depends on the G7 and G20, but in the end, peace depends on all of us, on the United Nations. So don't stay silent while Russia keeps dragging this war on. Please speak out and condemn it. Please join us in defending life and international law and order. People are waiting for action. Thank you so much. Slava Ukraini!
Let's check in on some other speakers too. Check in on some other speakers. But man, oh, holy cow, it sounds like they are ramping it up, getting ready for defense productions and exports. That's crazy. Crazy work. Here we go. Oh, we didn't get his announcement. Let's get his announcement so we all know who we're. It's right after Mexico.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Panama,
As the Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Peter Pavel, President of the Czech Republic, I request protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the
Hey,
Assembly.
Dangster. BB, check the DM there. I'll be right back. I'm not playing
Madam
drunk.
President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am humbled to speak here in front of you again. Today, I wish to address two main issues: United Nations achievements and necessity of its reform, and prospect of multilateralism in the light of Russian aggression. 80 years ago, the United Nations was founded with great hope to prevent war and destruction, never to repeat the horrors of World War II. My country proudly stood amongst the founding nations, signing the charter that would become our collective moral compass. Since 1945, we have witnessed remarkable achievements. The United Nations helped to prevent another full-scale world conflict. It assisted in dissolution of colonialism and rise of new sovereign countries in Asia, Africa, Europe, and Latin America. Together, we created a robust multilateral system of rules and global cooperation in international security, human rights, and economic development. Together with the UN, we have fought famine, disease, illiteracy, and poverty in some of the world's most vulnerable regions. Dozens of peacekeeping missions have helped to ease tensions in conflict zones. Thanks to its long-standing efforts, the UN has helped transform countless lives and laid the groundwork for a better world, a world which is more humane and more cooperative. It provided a platform where even the smallest nations can speak out and be heard. The UN remains the only institution where the world can collectively confront global crises. Not with weapons, but with dialogue, shared responsibility, and pressure where necessary. UN's greatest achievement is not perfection, it's persistence. With many devastating conflicts ongoing, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has significantly transformed the global security landscape. Since the last general debate a year ago, our world has not become more secure. On the contrary. In the game of smoke and mirrors, Russia continues targeting civilians, civilian infrastructure, foreign diplomatic missions, and most recently, even our neighboring country, Poland. Not to forget the acts of hybrid warfare on our own territory. These range from disinformation campaigns and attempts to undermine public trust, to cyber attacks, and even acts of sabotage carried out by mercenaries recruited online. Despite being the largest country on the map, Russia still aims to seize Ukrainian territory and expand its sphere of influence. Backed by China, Iran, North Korea, and other countries that help it circumvent sanctions and provide economic or political support.
All right, microphone check. Microphone check. Uh-oh. Test. Yeah, I got an echo now.
Russia, a permanent member of UN Security Council, is not only violating the principles of state sovereignty and territorial integrity enshrined in the UN Charter, but also sets a dangerous example and precedent, sending the message that aggression can yield territorial and political gain and remain unpunished. Ladies and gentlemen, our multilateral system was created on the premise that rules apply to all without exception. The consequences of this war go far beyond the news headlines. This war threatens to dismantle our system of governance based on mutual respect, equal partnership, and rules we
Test,
all
test, test,
subscribe
test.
to. What is happening in Europe today could happen anywhere else tomorrow, under different circumstances, but under the exact same pretext. If
Test,
Russia wins
test.
this unjust war, it will legitimize the triumph of brute force. Turning a blind eye to Ukraine today is a green light to any future aggressor anywhere in the world. Disruptions of the status quo in the Taiwan Strait or elsewhere in the Indo-Pacific would further destabilize global security and trade. Geographical distance offers no protection. Security in one part of the world is directly linked to security everywhere. Tolerating the principle of might makes right will lead to the end of multilateralism and the beginning of life under principles dictated by a powerful few. It would be a future with history deliberately rewritten, with lies promoted as facts, and with truth slowly disappearing from our discourse and memory. Just the opposite of what most of our nations fought for in the previous century. The heroism of Ukrainian people, their willingness to sacrifice for freedom, and global solidarity with Ukraine demonstrate that most of us still believe in universal values and in our responsibility to defend them. To achieve sustainable peace, we democratic allies from all over the world must act in unity and intensify our economic pressure on Russia. This is the only way to bring the aggressor to the negotiating table. Such peace, based on the existing international law, including territorial integrity and the right of self-determination, is in the interest of not only European countries, but of the whole international community. Any future peace agreement must send a clear message worldwide that aggressor must not be rewarded and borders cannot be changed by force. Ladies and gentlemen, the structure of the UN was based on the outcome of the World War II. Today, one of the UN Security Council permanent members is waging a ruthless war while obstructing any constructive solutions put forward. It is in light of these new geopolitical realities that we need a strong and effective UN system capable of responding to today's global challenges, from security threats and climate change to rapid evolution of new technologies. Otherwise, we risk sliding into a world that is more fragmented, more dangerous, and far less predictable. Czechia welcomes the UN Aid initiative and the commitments in the Pact for Future. Yet these ambitions stand in stark contrast with today's reality. In the light of Russian aggression against Ukraine, the UN Security Council is currently failing its purpose and mission. Therefore, we advocate for a comprehensive reform of the UN Security Council for greater effectiveness, inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability, with the aim to honor the principles of the UN Charter and to strengthen the voice of underrepresented regions. Freedom and human rights are not granted entitlements. They are hard-won principles that must be cherished and protected. Security Council membership should not be seen as a matter of prestige or privilege, but above all, a responsibility to defend global peace. That's why Czechia is seeking a non-permanent seat on the UN Security Council for the term 2032-33, with a clear commitment to uphold the rules-based international order. We cannot afford to have the UN paralyzed or blocked in its ability to respond to crises and challenges.
Test.
Current
Test.
urgent crises are already consuming too much of our attention and resources at the expense of other major, equally pressing issues. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned in the beginning of my speech, the UN significantly improved the quality of life, education, healthcare, and services. In this year's Sustainable Development Report, Czechia ranked 10th out of 167 countries. I am fortunate to be a citizen of a country with a secure and comfortable life. This doesn't mean that there are no challenges. Much work still lies ahead if we are to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals 2030, both at home and globally. After all, most of the challenges we are facing are global. No single nation is powerful enough to succeed alone. That is why we need more dialogue. That is why we need greater cooperation and collective action. And ultimately, that is why multilateralism must not only survive, it must thrive. Not only for us, but most importantly, for future generations. Thank you.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Czech Republic. The Assembly will hear an address by Her Excellency Karen Keller-Sutter, President of the Swiss Confederation. I request protocol to escort Her Excellency and invite her to address the Assembly.
I'm still getting feedback now.
Madame la Présidente de
Madam
l'Assemblée
President of the
Générale,
General Assembly,
Excellences,
Excellencies,
Mesdames,
ladies
Messieurs,
and gentlemen,
il y a 80 ans, le monde
80
entrait
years
dans une
ago,
nouvelle
the
ère,
world entered a
des temps
new
meilleurs.
era, better
Le
times.
27 janvier
On the 27th
1945,
of January
le camp de
1945,
concentration
the
d'Auschwitz était
Auschwitz
libéré.
concentration camp was
Le 8 mai,
liberated.
la guerre en
On the
Europe
8th of
prenait
May
fin.
1945,
Et
the
le
war in
25
Europe ended,
juin,
and on 25
50
June,
États adoptaient la Charte des Nations
1945,
Unies à San
50 states adopted the
Francisco.
United Nations Charter
Ils
in
étaient,
San
je cite,
Francisco.
résolus à
And
préserver
I
les
quote from the charter,
générations
they were
futures
determined
du
to
fléau de
save
la guerre
succeeding
qui, deux
generations
fois en
from the
l'espace
scourge
d'une
of
vie
war, which
humaine,
twice in
infligeait
our
à
lifetime has
l'humanité
brought
d'indicibles
untold sorrow
souffrances.
to
Fin de
mankind.
citation.
End of quote.
Sur les ruines de la
Upon the
Deuxième Guerre
ruins of the
mondiale, un
Second
nouvel
World War,
ordre
a
naissait d'une
new
conviction,
international
Yeah, I still
order
get double.
was
Yeah, I still get double.
shared conviction and determination to bring
I think it's the driver in the headset. I think it's the driver in the headset.
and prosperity
C'est aussi
to
au
the
lendemain des
world.
horreurs de
The
cette
horrors of
période que
this time
naissaient les
also gave
conventions de
rise
Genève
to
de
the Geneva Conventions
1949
of
qui
1949,
protègent les victimes des
which
conflits armés.
protect the
À cette
victims of armed
époque, les
conflict.
fondements de décennies
At that
florissantes
time, the
pour la
foundations
démocratie,
for
l'état de droit
progress and democracy,
et
the
l'économie
rule of
de
law,
marché
and the
étaient
market
posés.
economy were
Des
laid
fondements qui,
down.
malgré les limites et les
Foundations
revers,
which, despite
ont
all the
servi aussi la
limitations and
coopération
setbacks,
internationale, le
also
libre-échange,
benefited
la paix
international
et le
cooperation,
droit
free trade,
international.
peace, and international
Sans faire de
law.
parallèle historique,
Without
force
drawing any
est de
historical
constater, nous
parallels, it is
célébrons
clear
cette année le
that this
80e
year, as
anniversaire
we
des
mark the
Nations
80th
Unies,
anniversary of the United
alors que nous
Nations,
vivons une nouvelle
we
époque
are
de bouleversements
experiencing
OBS.
politiques et
a new
économiques
era
extrêmement violents.
of particularly
Une époque
extreme
où trop de
political
guerres
and
font un
economic
nouveau rage
upheaval, at
et
a
où les
time
populations
when,
subissent
once
des
again, too
souffrances
many wars
intolérables.
are raging
Une
with civilian
époque où une paix juste
populations
et durable
experiencing
semble
unbearable
toujours hors de
suffering,
portée
a
au
time in which a
Proche-Orient
just lasting
et
peace in the
en
Middle
Ukraine,
East and
où
Ukraine
les
still
tendances
seems
autocratiques se
beyond
renforcent
reach,
en Europe
and
aussi.
during which
Une
autocratic
époque où
tendencies
le
are gaining
libre-échange
ground,
est mis à
including in
l'épreuve
Europe,
et où,
a
en fin
time in
de
which
compte,
free trade
le
is
droit
being put to the
international,
test,
y
and
compris la Charte des
where
Nations Unies,
ultimately
risque de
international law,
devenir
including the
lettre
Charter
morte.
of the United Nations,
Ce sont des bouleversements qui ne viennent pas de nulle part.
dead letter.
Ils
These
sont le
upheavals
résultat
are not coming out of
d'évolutions qui
nowhere.
remontent
They are the result
parfois
of
loin
developments
et
that,
que
in
l'on a
some cases, date
rétrospectivement
back
trop
a
longtemps
long time,
pris
in which, in
trop peu
retrospect,
au
we
sérieux.
failed to take
Il faut être
seriously
honnête.
enough for
Ce
far
sont des
too long.
évolutions pour
We need to
lesquelles
be
il n'y a
honest
pas de
with
réponse
ourselves. These are
facile,
developments that
ni
have
au
no
niveau
simple
international,
solutions,
ni au niveau
neither at the
national.
international
Et il
nor
ne
at the
suffit pas non
national
plus de rappeler
levels,
ici,
nor is it
pour la
enough
énième
today
fois
to
et
reiterate
seulement par des
yet again
discours, les mérites
merely in
d'une certaine
speeches,
forme
the
d'État,
merits of a
de l'État
particular
de droit,
form
du
of
droit
government,
international,
the
du
rule of law,
libre-échange et du
international law, free
multilatéralisme.
trade, and
Non,
multilateralism.
si nous voulons relever
No,
les défis
if
auxquels
we
nous
wish
sommes
to surmount the
confrontés,
challenges
nous
which
devons
we face,
redoubler
we have
nos
the duty
efforts.
to redouble
Car
our
que valent
efforts.
tous les acquis de
For
la civilisation
what is
s'ils
the
ne contribuent pas
the
concrètement à
benefit
la
of the
liberté,
achievements
à la
of
sécurité
civilization? What
et
are
à
they
la
worth if they do not
prospérité
tangibly
si
contribute
leurs
to freedom,
avantages ne
security,
deviennent
and
pas
prosperity
tangibles pour les
if they do
populations
not
dans leur
bring
vie de
tangible
tous les
benefits
jours?
for people in their
Il y a deux
day-to-day
erreurs
lives?
que nous devons
There
pas
are
faire.
two errors which we
Premièrement,
must
pointer
not make.
du doigt uniquement
Firstly,
les autres
pointing the
États.
finger only at
Deuxièmement,
others.
laisser les
Secondly,
organisations
leaving
internationales
international
seules
organizations
avec
Test. Yeah, I gotta figure this out. I think it's the device driver. I think it's the device driver. All right, we'll listen to her talk. While I play with it in the background.
right
Et c'est
now.
en général chez
And
nous,
generally, this
dans
is
notre
at
propre pays.
home, within our own
Entendons-nous
countries.
bien. Il ne s'agit pas de faire
Let me
l'éloge
be
de
clear, this is
l'égoïsme
not about
national,
praising national
ni de condamner
self-interest,
le
nor is this about
multilatéralisme.
condemning
Bien au
multilateralism.
contraire.
Quite
La
to the
Suisse est
contrary,
convaincue que le
Switzerland is
multilatéralisme,
convinced
que
that
les
multilateralism,
organisations internationales,
international
que les
organizations,
Nations Unies
the United
sont
Nations
essentielles à la
are
coexistence
essential
pacifique
for the
des
peaceful
peuples,
coexistence
à la
of
prospérité
peoples,
économique
for
mondiale,
global
à la
economic
résolution de défis
prosperity,
tels
for the
que la
resolution of
migration, le
challenges,
changement
including
climatique,
migration,
la
climate
transition
change,
numérique,
the
et
digital
je le dis aussi en
transition,
tant que ministre
and
des Finances,
as
à la stabilité
finance minister, I would
financière
also
mondiale.
add for global
L'année
financial
dernière, nous avons
stability.
adopté ensemble le
Last
pacte pour
year,
l'avenir, un
we
engagement
together
fort
adopted
en
the Pact for
faveur
the
du
Future, a
multilatéralisme
robust
dans
commitment to
l'agenda 2030
multilateralism.
pour le développement durable
Central pillar of the pact is the
constitue
2030
donc l'un des piliers.
agenda
Nous devons
for
mettre en
sustainable
œuvre ces
development.
feuilles de route sans délai.
We must now
La Suisse
implement
est aussi
these
convaincue
roadmaps
que la
without
Genève
delay.
internationale
Switzerland is
peut
also
apporter
convinced that
une
International Geneva
contribution
can
Test.
make
unique à la
a unique
réalisation de ces
contribution to the
objectifs.
attainment of these
Genève, en
goals.
tant que premier
Geneva,
centre
as the United
opérationnel
Nations
onusien,
leading operational
dispose
center,
d'une forte
has
expertise dans de
robust
nombreux domaines
expertise in
cruciaux pour
numerous
notre
crucial
avenir,
areas for
liés
our future,
notamment à l'humanité
particularly those
et à
related to humanity
l'innovation.
and
Il s'agit d'un
innovation. This
écosystème
is a
sans
unique
égal pour
eco,
réfléchir,
a unique,
discuter et agir
unparalleled
ensemble.
ecosystem for reflection,
Mais toute organisation
discussion,
internationale
and
forte
concerted
a
action.
besoin de membres
But
forts.
a strong
Et quand
international
je dis
organization
fort, je ne
needs strong
parle pas
members.
de
And when I say
force
strong,
par
I
la
do not
taille
mean
ou par la puissance
strength
militaire.
in terms of
Je parle
size or
d'États qui
strength
sont en
in terms of
mesure de
military might. I am talking
permettre à
about
leurs
states
citoyens de
that are in a
s'épanouir.
position to
Et je
provide
dirais
their
aussi de
citizens with an
s'exprimer
environment in which they are
librement
able to
en toute
flourish
sécurité.
and to
Une
express
sécurité non
themselves
seulement
freely
militaire, mais
and in
aussi
complete
juridique,
safety and security.
économique
Security
et
not just in the
sociale.
military sense, but also
La
at the
sécurité et la
legal,
liberté sont les
economic, and
conditions
social security
préalables
level. Security and
essentielles
freedom
au
are
développement
essential
économique
prerequisites
et donc à
for
la
economic
prospérité.
growth and
Elles
therefore for
nécessitent des
prosperity.
institutions qui
They
soient
require
juridiquement
institutions that are
solides,
legally
fiables
sound,
et capables
reliable,
d'agir.
and
Et elles
capable of
nécessitent
taking
une
action.
stabilité
And they
politique,
require
sociale
political,
et financière.
social, and
Et là,
financial
chaque
stability.
État doit également assumer
And
ses
here,
propres
each state
responsabilités.
has an obligation to
Nous ne
shoulder
pouvons
its
pas
own
simplement les
responsibilities. We
déléguer
cannot simply
à une
delegate our
organisation
responsibilities
internationale.
to an international organization.
Mesdames, Messieurs,
Ladies,
la
gentlemen,
communauté internationale
the
ne peut que
international
profiter
community
de la force intérieure,
cannot but
de la
benefit from the
prospérité
domestic
et de la
strength,
stabilité de chaque
prosperity,
État.
and stability of
Seuls
each
les États
state.
solides sur le plan
Only
intérieur
strong
peuvent être
states,
véritablement
strong
solidaires
domestically,
et
can
contribuer à
demonstrate
une
true
communauté
solidarity and
internationale
contribute
prospère.
to a successful,
Mais nous devons
prosperous international
redoubler les
community.
efforts
But
aussi
we
tant
need to
que,
also
en tant
redouble our
que communauté
efforts as
internationale.
an international community.
Aujourd'hui, surtout, les
Today,
Nations Unies doivent
more than
elles
ever
aussi se
before, the
mettre en
United
question,
Nations must
se
also
remettre en
take
question
a
Sont-elles
critical
encore en
look
mesure
at
de remplir leur
itself
mission
to
comme les
consider
50
whether
États l'avaient
it is still
prévu
able
le
to
25
fulfill its
juin
role as the
1945
50
à
states
San
intended
Francisco
when they adopted
lorsqu'ils
the
adoptaient la
charter
charte.
in San
Le
Francisco on 25 June
multilatéralisme connaît lui aussi des
1945.
bouleversements sans précédent.
Multilateralism is
Ces
also undergoing
bouleversements sont marqués par
unprecedented
une
upheaval.
recrudescence
These
des
upheavals are
violations du cadre
punctuated by a
normatif et des
resurgence of
principes et
violations in the
valeurs
normative
mêmes
framework
qui fondent
and the
l'action
very
multilatérale.
principles and
Le
values that
dialogue,
underpin
la
multilateral
coopération, la
action.
recherche du
Dialogue,
consensus,
cooperation,
le
consensus
respect du
building,
droit
respect for
international et
international
l'égalité
law,
souveraine
and
entre
sovereign
États,
equality of
quelle que soit leur
states,
taille ou
regardless
leur
of
poids économique ou
size, of
politique.
economic strength or political
La Suisse
influence.
appelle tous les États
Switzerland calls
à un
upon all
engagement
states
ferme
to
en soutien des
make a
principes et
firm
valeurs
commitment
comme ils étaient
to
déclarés
uphold the
dans la
principles
Charte
and
des Nations
values
Unies il
enshrined
y a
in
80
the
ans.
Charter of the
C'est le
United Nations
prélude à
80
toute
years ago.
réflexion
This is
sur
the
les
prelude to
réformes et les
any
mesures
reflection
d'efficacité
on
qui doivent
reforms
renforcer
and
l'impact de
efficiency
notre action
measures to
dans les trois
strengthen the impact
piliers
of
de
our actions in the
l'organisation.
3 pillars of the
À cet
organization.
égard, nous soutenons
With this in mind,
pleinement
we
le programme
fully
de
support
réforme ONU
the
80 du
UN
secrétaire
80
général.
reform program of the
Le
Secretary
renforcement de
General.
l'efficacité, de la cohérence,
A greater
de l'agilité
effectiveness,
et
coherence,
de l'impact
agility,
de l'action
and impact of
multilatérale doit
multilateral
guider
action
chacune
should
de nos
each
décisions.
guide
Une
our
approche structurée
decisions.
et
A
réfléchie visant
structured,
à définir
well-thought-through
ensemble
approach
l'ONU de
together
demain
for
est
defining the
essentielle.
UN of the future
Je
is
peux vous
vital.
assurer
I
que
can
la Suisse
assure you
continuera
that Switzerland will
d'œuvrer en
continue
faveur
to
des
work
efforts de réforme
towards
d'une
reform.
ONU plus
We remain
efficace
committed to the
et
reform
d'un
efforts to a more effective and
multilatéralisme
efficient United
pérenne,
Nations and to
à la
sustainable
fois en tant
multilateralism,
qu'État d'hôte
both as a
fiable
reliable
et en tant
host state
qu'État membre engagé.
and as a committed member
Madame la
state.
Présidente, Excellences, Mesdames,
Excellencies,
Messieurs,
ladies and
nous ne sommes pas
gentlemen,
toujours dans la même situation
We are
qu'il y a
not
80
in the
ans.
same situation
Pass.
today
Nous
as we
sommes
were
en
80
plein
years
dans une
ago.
phase
We
critique
are
et le prochain
in the midst
chapitre
of
de
a
l'histoire
critical
n'est pas encore
phase,
écrit.
and the next chapter
Cela
of history
signifie
is
que nous
yet to be
pouvons
written.
participer
This also
activement
means
à
that
son
we can
écriture.
play an active
Je
role
cite
in
un
shaping it.
survivant
And I
d'Auschwitz,
quote an
l'écrivain
Auschwitz
italien Primo
survivor, the
Levi.
Italian writer
C'est
Primo
arrivé,
Levi.
cela peut donc
It happened.
arriver
Test.
de nouveau.
Therefore, it could
Tel est
happen
le
again.
noyau de ce que nous avons
This
à
is
dire.
the core
Fin de
of what we
citation.
have to say.
Mais cela ne doit
End
pas
of
se
quote.
reproduire.
But it
Et en
doesn't
fait,
have to
cela
happen
ne doit
again.
pas se
And indeed, it
reproduire.
must
C'est
not
pourquoi les
happen
Nations Unies
again.
ont été
This is
créées
why the
il y a
United
80 ans.
Nations was created
pour ça
80 years
aussi que
ago,
nous sommes
and
là
this is also
aujourd'hui.
why we are
C'est à nous de
here
faire en sorte que ce
today.
tournant de
It is up to
l'histoire,
us to
dont
ensure
on
that
parle si
this
souvent
turning
aujourd'hui,
point in
comme
history, which is so
aussi il y a
often new
l'arrogance et de
Uh,
la
driver out of
facilité
date. Driver out of
mettons-le
date.
au travail,
complacency, and
chez
let us
nous,
get to work
dans notre pays
at home,
et ensemble
in our
aux Nations
countries,
Unies.
and
Je vous
together at the
remercie.
United Nations. Thank you.
Merci. I thank on behalf of the Assembly the President of the Swiss Confederation. The Assembly will hear now an address by His Excellency Edgars Rinkēvičs, President of the Republic of Latvia. I request protocol to escort His Excellency and invite him to address the Assembly.
Madam President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates. First of all, allow me to congratulate Your Excellency, Madam Annalena Baerbock, on assuming the presidency of the General Assembly. You will have Latvia's full cooperation. Latvia believes that we are stronger together, stronger in advancing peace, fostering development, upholding human rights. Standing here on this world stage, I would like to congratulate us on the 80th anniversary of the United Nations. 80 years working together to build a better, more just and peaceful world. This task has never been easy, but it is our duty to persist with determination and give our very best. I want to express Latvia's gratitude for the overwhelming support for our candidacy for the United Nations Security Council. We are beginning our term next year. This is our first term. Latvia will take on this responsibility with a strong sense of duty, a duty to serve with integrity, transparency, and with a clear commitment to the principles of the United Nations. Latvia is honored to serve on the Security Council for the good of people around the world. And we will stand together for peace and resilience. Latvia's three priorities in the Security Council are: first, protect our rules-based international order. Second, advocate for women, peace and security agenda. Also protect the most vulnerable people amongst us. Third, find solutions to emerging security threats. These include climate change, hybrid threats, the challenges related to the safety of artificial intelligence. Excellencies, the world is in disarray. Before our eyes, we see blatant attempts to weaken or even to destroy the rules-based international order, the order that is rooted in the United Nations Charter. In effect, a new world order is emerging, and it is not a better one. There is an attempt to recreate the world where the might makes right. The permanent members of the Security Council undertook to maintain international peace and security, to prevent wars, to prevent devastation and loss of life. But it seems that one permanent member, Russia, doesn't want this. Russia wants a world where brute force prevails over international law. Russia does not want peace. Russia wants to get what it wants. And Russia is willing to inflict destruction and misery on others. Unfortunately, Russia has partners in crime, notably Iran and North Korea. Ukraine is fighting back, bravely, with all it has. Ukraine is facing an existential threat to its people, to its land, to its freedom. Ukraine is fighting for all of us, for the rules-based international order, for independence and sovereignty, for territorial integrity, so that international borders are not changed by force. These actually are the very principles at heart of the United Nations. Latvia stands with Ukraine and will advocate for its sovereignty and territorial integrity at the United Nations Security Council. We are and we will be advocates for Ukrainian children abducted by Russia. They must be returned. We will be advocates for the Ukrainian civilians who have lost their homes and livelihoods. Latvia will use its position on the United Nations Security Council to help achieve a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. I want to express my appreciation to President Trump, President Zelensky, and my European colleagues for their efforts to achieve peace, for trying to stop the unnecessary destruction and the misery we are witnessing in Ukraine. It is our collective duty to uphold the principles of the United Nations Charter, especially when a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council openly violates them. We need no reminding that the United Nations was founded on the ruins of the World War II, to save future generations from the scourge of war, to maintain international peace and security, to protect human life. Distinguished delegates, in war, it is the most innocent that pay the highest price. It is our duty to strengthen international cooperation to tackle the escalating crisis in Gaza. The humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza continues to spiral. Urgent action is needed to end civilian suffering. Latvia condemns all terrorist attacks. Nothing can justify terrorism. We recognize Israel's legitimate right to self-defense, but it must be exercised in line with the international law and particularly international humanitarian law. The law is there to protect every one of us. Latvia calls for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The terrorist organization Hamas must release all hostages. Hamas must be destroyed, as this organization is responsible for so much human suffering in the region. We need to ensure that the access to humanitarian aid in Gaza is safe and unconditional. The ongoing escalation confirms the need for a sustainable political solution. The need for a two-state solution in accordance with international parameters. The need to break the cycle of violence. To reach a just and lasting peace. A peace that addresses the security concerns and the legitimate aspirations of both the Israelis and Palestinians. Latvia is keenly aware of the ongoing conflicts around the world. We must work together to resolve the dire humanitarian situation in Sudan and Democratic Republic of the Congo. We will not look on helplessly as crises unfold. As a member of the Security Council, we will call on the international community to take collective action and to facilitate humanitarian aid, to try to end unnecessary human suffering. Distinguished delegates, we must do everything in our power to protect the most vulnerable people. People suffer disproportionately in times of war. We, the global community, have a responsibility to protect the rights of women and girls, to empower them, to ensure their voices are heard in peace processes. The first deportation of Ukrainian children to Russia is beyond disturbing. We call on the United Nations to do more, do much more. We will do all we can to help bring these children home. Madam President, it is not only conventional warfare that threatens peace, security, and stability. Emerging threats like climate change, cyber attacks, hybrid attacks, and the misuse of the artificial intelligence are testing us on a daily basis. Our modern world is connected in ways that most of us can't imagine. Today, many countries are experiencing a growing wave of hybrid attacks. Also Latvia. We have to deal with damage to undersea cables, GPS jamming, arson attacks, the Russian shadow fleets. Russia continues and actually invests in new provocations. Most recently, recklessly violating the airspace of Poland and Estonia. The intensity of Russia's drone attacks against Ukraine has created incidents in Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania. This is the new reality. Russia bears full responsibility for these acts and also consequences. This kind of reckless behavior is a direct threat to international peace and security, and we must act to stop it before such acts spiral out of control. We must counter these threats by resilience and increased cooperation with our friends and allies. But hybrid warfare is evolving, as are emerging and disruptive technologies. The challenge is to maximize the benefits these technologies can bring, while remaining vigilant of the potential risk they pose. We share the United Nations view that we need to develop artificial intelligence responsibly. But we should not halt the progress. Artificial intelligence can promote economic growth, drive scientific progress and innovation, even improve healthcare and make education more accessible. Artificial intelligence is already part of our daily lives. We must acknowledge this reality and work to make it safer and more beneficial for the people. The governments should not take years to create regulations. We should act swiftly and do it right. As a responsible United Nations member, a future UN Security Council member, Latvia is ready to work with our partners to address these issues. Ladies and gentlemen, the United Nations has stood the test of time for 80 years. It is the primary architect of international law and protector of rules-based international order. The United Nations is not
Didn't Latvia give like 75% of like their total freaking defense spending to Ukraine? I'm pretty sure they did.
perfect. But it is the best we have. The only truly global organization. As one of UN Secretary Generals, Dag Hammarskjöld, famously said, the United Nations was not created in order to bring us to heaven, but in order to save us from the hell. But after 80 years, it is time to adjust to new realities. The United Nations must evolve to remain relevant, to be effective and fit for the challenges ahead. That's why we support the UN80 initiative by the Secretary General. Let us work together for peace and resilience. Let us protect the rules-based international order and the United Nations Charter, because we all are better together. Thank you very much.
All right, let's check in with the poll. We got, do you think NATO countries will be invaded by Russia and Belarus? 75% of you said yes, 25% said no out of 20 votes. That would be 5 no's and 15 yeses, guys. 15 yeses. Well, the countries on the borders are definitely thinking they are going to be invaded. They've been preparing for quite some time now. Quite some time for more Russian aggression. And we will get to that to show you a little bit of the preparations. Let's see if I can find it.
Every weekend, civilians are signing up to receive basic military training offered by the Polish army.
We want to learn something new and know how to behave in case of any
Poland's getting ready.
danger.
Poland is building an 800-kilometre, $2.5 billion fortified border with Russia, and this is our journey to see it for ourselves. We flew into Warsaw with all of our gear and headed out to the border.
It's pretty remote, it's about 3 hours out of Warsaw, and we've been told the people there aren't the kind of residents that would expect an Australian film crew to show up on their doorstep. So let's hope everything goes to plan.
And it didn't take long after we started filming. Local border force pulled our producers Riley and
Poland is not playing. They've been getting ready, and so is Estonia.
Tiana over and asked to see their documentation.
Please stop the video.
Oh, sorry.
Eventually, though, we made it to Operation East Shield. We're in Poland, and over there is Russia. This is the border. And over here is Operation East Shield. So they started installing...
So, Cypher, it wouldn't take much for Russia to give Belarusian soldiers fake passports or fake birth certificates and fake their identity and send them in there.
These hedgehog things in late 2024, and by the end of 2028 there'll be 800 kilometres worth of this. And we've been speaking to people who have been involved in the project, and they say, look, it won't necessarily prevent a potential Russian invasion, but what it's saying is that if Russia looks to encroach this border, then they're ready.
Zapory inżynieryjne mają na celu tak naprawdę odstraszenie przeciwnika. Są budowane po to, żeby skoncentrować jego ruchy, zwęzić go, tak, a tym samym dać wojsku polskiemu na ewentualną kontrofensywę. No i też ewakuację ludności.
Poland is now the highest spender per capita on defence in the EU. With the war in Ukraine on its doorstep, it's quite clear the country is preparing for the worst, a potential Russian invasion. Every weekend, civilians are signing up.
Getting ready. Poland's getting ready. They're not the only ones, though. There's a lot of countries that are worried, and they are getting ready.
Putin has broken his word repeatedly from Minsk to this morning. Putin has caused this terrible tragedy that has claimed the lives of millions. Putin menaces your skies, threatens your cities, destroys your fields. Putin has stolen your children. But Putin can be stopped. Russia's economy is weakening. He is becoming more isolated. And our alliance is hardening. It's growing more effective, more determined, more united.
So Belarus also, they've had, I'm going to bring it up. Belarus has been, they've had demonstrations. There's been a lot of Belarusians that have straight up been thrown in captivity for speaking out. Let's see if I can get in here. So this is back on September 8th, International Day of Journalist Solidarity. Currently, 33 media workers, journalists, reporters, and bloggers are behind bars. Over this period, many media workers have already fully served their full sentences for their professional activities. In total, 83 media professionals have been prosecuted. So it's been kind of a back and forth for Belarus. There's been activism all through Belarus. They have fought back, but they lock them up just like in Russia. So it's a little back and forth. I remember in the beginning days in Belarus, there was a lot of people that were absolutely just completely upset. Even their military members were speaking out against the invasion in Ukraine. So Belarus is kind of an odd card. I know a lot of the people, when they just closed the borders to Poland, they were trying to get through. So it is interesting to see. But like I said, there's reports of a secret nuclear facility being constructed in Belarus right now, closer to Europe. I might have a clip on that. We'll have to see. I wanted to get back into some more clips I had here. Now that I fixed my audio. God, nothing like a good, fresh live stream back from a while to have audio issues. But I am glad we got them resolved. Let's see where we're going. I don't know if I have more on Belarus, but here was the incursion the other day towards Estonia.
Estonia's government says 3 Russian military jets entered NATO airspace without permission on Friday morning and stayed there for nearly 12 minutes. In a statement on X, a NATO spokesman said NATO responded immediately and intercepted the Russian jets which had violated Estonian airspace, adding this is yet another example of reckless Russian behavior and NATO's ability to respond. The foreign minister of Estonia said the incident was the most brazen violation yet of its airspace and the 4th this year. Estonia's government said.
So then, yeah, there was also this Max, but Max 25 is pretty good NATO fellow there. But Max, he was posting pictures of the border over in Belarus and Poland as well. The entire road was blocked. He had clips here. He's really good at picking this up. Justin Grodno, the entire road was blocked. I want to save the relatives for another week, but I think it's time to pack my bags. Delete it quickly, otherwise you'll soon be drinking Cheffair. While I'm a citizen of Lithuania, I am leaving. You may not make it. It's not us. It's the country. So there's tanks and there's stuff moving towards the border. So I don't know. I feel like Belarus is going to be complicit in this war, and there will be troops in NATO, Belarusian troops. I feel like it. I feel like Lukashenko will bend the knee when it comes down to it, 100%. I do. I feel that way. I could be wrong. He's the world's longest sitting dictator right now. So it could go either way, I'd imagine. Let's go into some articles from the front.
One of the things you're busy with right now is kind of topping news down near Pokrovsk in southeastern Ukraine. So just wanted to see if you might be able to share some information. What's going on there?
So this is back in August, but things have been ongoing in Pokrovsk area.
Yeah. For starters, I want to preface this by saying neither of us are like battle analysts by any means. You know, we operate purely at the tactical level, but having both of us been in Donetsk and fighting there recently, I might be able to guess what that looks like and what's going on there. Do you mind if I? Please. So, like, recently what we've been seeing a lot on the front line is the Russians use probing tactics. They usually send like 2 or 4 guys. And they'll just push them up via motorcycle. Maybe it's a BMP that gets knocked out and 4 guys get out, or just guys on foot, you know, walking north for like a month or 2 even from some staging area. And they'll just push them as deep and as far as they can go until usually they get killed. Sometimes, though, because of like gaps in the line or gaps between positions, or a position gets overrun, whatever it is, there's holes that open in the Ukrainian line, and the 2Zs and 3Zs, sometimes 4 guys get through. And you see this quite often, and you'll end up with 2 random Russian dudes like walking 7 kilometers behind the line, and you're like, oh, it totally happens. So like, if I had to anticipate what happened in the Pokrovsk region, that everybody's like in a scramble to fix and contain, is I'm assuming it wasn't like some super secret DRG Spetsnaz guys. But it was, I think it was often more likely, these little probes started to get through, and they just identified a weak point in the line. And because the probes were getting through and they were making ground and still maintaining radio contact, the Russians, they're very good at identifying when they've reached a gap, and they exploit it quickly and violently. And I think that's what's happened. I mean, the symptoms that we're witnessing aren't that. We're like, if you look at it from an overlay, and looking at the Russians' paths, they're not doing what would be considered like a standard or like a deliberate blitz. It looks like they're just punched through, and they're trying to get as far as they can to just disrupt as much as possible, as fast as possible. So I don't think this was some like super planned action. I think it looks much more like it was an opportunity, and they took it, and it started working.
Yeah, they're not doing anything like I think they're just holding until they can make a next plan. And they're doing these little probing missions until they can do bigger things. They're not going anywhere.
Not fathom the mentality that they have. Not fathom the mentality.
That's breaking. TikTok feed is breaking. But another news it was a Canadian volunteer. He was killed. Euromaidan posted this. Patrick Mazarol, 24, of New Brunswick, Canada, was killed while serving in the Ukrainian army in Kharkiv sector. Patrick told his parents in February he was going to Poland, but enlisted instead. He died in a drone strike on September 1st. Reported his American comrade in arms. So another fallen hero. I don't feel Russia is slowing down. I know they're saying their economy is collapsing in this. I don't see it. With China backing them now, they still have troops. If China wants this war to continue, they're going to help, and it's going to keep getting worse. They're also strengthening their cyber operations. I don't know if you noticed, but Putin's new cyber empire. I'm not registering. In late 2024, Nikolai Patrushev, the longtime head of Russia's Security Council charity meeting in St. Petersburg of top security officials from countries in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East. The meeting was about information sovereignty and security, the Kremlin's way of describing cyber technologies that are designed to protect against Western surveillance, influences, and interference. So, yeah, apparently the CIA is inside of the Russian toasters. Their toasters in their house. We've got their toasters wired, guys. So they're not slowing down. The conflict is...
So it looks like the United States is slowly moving away from selling weaponry to...
And then this.
...to some of our allies abroad. The most recent incident here is Denmark, this is a story in The Atlantic where they said, we don't know what happened. We're in the process of securing this deal for Patriot air defense missiles. And all of a sudden the U.S. was just like, no, we're not going to do that. Denmark needs air defense assets. So instead, they just signed a $9.1 billion deal with a joint French-Italian venture. And then,
so yeah, why would the U.S. sell Denmark weaponry when they want to take Greenland, right? When we want to take Greenland, right? So, and also they just had Russian planes in their airspace, or drones in their airspace as well.
Medium-range system from Norway, Germany, or France. This is Denmark's largest ever purchase of arms, and the U.S. just kind of backed away, it seems. This is coming from a report published a couple days ago in The Atlantic, where they say that this was spurred by the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Elbridge Colby, who said he does not believe in the value of certain foreign military sales. So to be clear, this is not aid. This is not things we are giving. This is things that companies in the United States produce and we sell to our allies. In this article, they say, quote, the change would also mean the loss of billions of dollars of government and private revenue, reducing the number of jobs in the defense industry, limiting product expansion, and curtailing research and development. Now, the purpose given, according to this article, is kind of the America First, that we are prioritizing homeland defense, and Patriots are no doubt in short supply. So instead of producing these and selling them to our allies, I guess we'll be producing them and keeping them ourselves. It's not clear if the denial of orders abroad will translate to an increase in orders domestically, but for now, that seems to be the rationale for the pause, at least temporary from all we can tell, but no telling if this expands to other weapon systems and how long this goes on. But at very least, right now, it seems like we're walking away from some military sales.
It's because it's probably all going to go to Israel, to tell you the truth. Here is what I was telling you earlier about also what's happening in Belarus. New satellite images show Russia building in Belarus on an old Soviet nuke site, possibly for Orishnik missiles. If true, it's a chilling signal that Moscow's nuclear shadow over Europe is growing longer. Let's see if we can click into it. Can I get a bigger picture? Right there. It's an old Soviet nuke site. But there's current construction going on. This is in Belarus. So, I mean, like I said, I don't see them. The fight's going to get bigger, guys. The fight's going to get bigger. And with Trump kind of backing out from aid, saying, oh, this and that, Ukraine's doing great on their own with Europe. We don't need to be a part of this. This is why. They're going to escalate. I think they're going to do a big push. I think it's going to happen this next year. Probably not in the winter, but not in the rainy season either. So they're going to wait probably next year. But here's satellite imagery from above. And there's definite construction going on. So two roadways in, it looks like. Right here, right there. They're doing something over there. It's kind of shadowy, kind of secret, but they're thinking it's Oreshniks. It's an old nuclear site. Project site was part of the Soviet nuclear arsenal in past from 1959 to 1993. So definitely something going on there, guys. It's if they're building sites in Belarus, then they're getting ready for something to happen through Belarus. That's obvious to me. Now, whether or not soldiers will be involved from Belarus, I think they will be. They're already lost. The Belarusians are already lost to the Russian Empire. Meanwhile, Russian captured soldiers are working. They're working on restoring the cities they have destroyed. This is in Izium. There are tree lines. Oh, forget it. Not even worth comparing. They gave us one MRE for the whole week, and that was it. So he's talking about when he was in the Russian military. At least here they feed you. And it's actually quite tasty, really tasty. Well, the job isn't hard, it's pretty easy. And it's good for the muscles, you move a lot of them. Overall, it's even enjoyable. Especially when working with paint like this. I love painting, it is very peaceful. It's mesmerizing to work like this. Oh, hey, at least some Russians are doing the right thing.
Breaking news as a serious situation has happened in both Denmark and Norway, as both countries had to close down airports and divert thousands of flights due to drone incursions over their airspace and near their airports. Norway has directly accused Russia of this drone incursion over their airspace and has said now that Russia has violated their airspace at least 3 times now in recent months. This is information I had not even heard yet. And Denmark says they cannot rule out that it was Russia, and they said that the drones operated in a way to show they had sophisticated operators and a high level of capability, and were doing things where they were even turning their lights on and back off, and then they disappeared, and they came from multiple different directions. So guys, is this a sign Russia is just showing these countries what they're capable of? Are they testing the boundaries? This has happened as the United Nations General Assembly was convening, and all the world leaders are there. And Trump spoke about this afterwards when he had his meeting with President Zelensky of Ukraine. Here's what he had to say.
President, do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do.
Would you back up NATO allies? You said that you thought that they should shoot down Russian aircraft. Would you back them up? Would the United States help them out in some way?
Depends on the circumstance, but we're very strong toward NATO.
Of course, the Kremlin denies being behind these drone incursions.
Of course
the
they do.
Danish Prime Minister said this was the most serious attack on their critical infrastructure to date, and it shut down the Copenhagen airport. And you heard Trump, he's saying just shoot these aircraft
hope it's
down.
the
If
aliens?
they're having incursions in airspace that is not Russia, they should just be shooting them down. But of course, Trump fell short of committing if the United States would aid in that sort of defense. Authorities are going to continue to investigate these drone incursions, and they don't have any suspects as of now, but they do fit a pattern of recent incursions that they know have been done by Russia. So we'll see what they find here. Be sure to check back for updates. Let me know what you think about this, and if you feel Trump's response is appropriate and should be done. Comment, like, share, spread the word, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you back here.
It's not the aliens. I hate to tell you that. It's not the aliens doing this. I mean, these drones are popping up everywhere. They're on the shore. This is Bulgaria. They're finding drones in Bulgaria. Washing up on shore. And Bulgaria should be worried about Russian devices showing up on their shore, because they've had a history of bad incidences with Russia, just with like boats coming in and blowing up 200 people on accident, like accidental detonations. It happened back, I think it was about 5 years ago. I might even I got a clip on it right here. So this is here. I'll translate the post. In Bulgaria, a Russian man was detained whose vessel in the port of Beirut exploded with nearly 3,000 tons of ammonium nitrate 5 years ago. This is not AI, guys. Yeah, no one remembers that happening. That was in Bulgaria, and that was from a Russian ship. That's wild. Former captain of the Rosas Boris Prokoshov, in an interview with the publication Siberia Reality, said that the vessel with the nitrate belonged to Grachushkin and was seized in the port of Beirut in 2014 due to non-payment of port fees. So there's history going back there. These drones, they're coming in NATO countries. It is escalating. It's a matter of time before, if they keep sending in jets, you're going to have NATO response, and it's going to be kinetic. It's absolutely going to. And here's how Turkey handled it. I don't know if you guys remember this. Turkey showed us how to prevent this becoming a repetitive problem a decade ago. If Russia wants to be provocative, they should understand that it will not go well for them. If NATO won't close the skies above, it should at least do so above NATO states. So this is a Russian MiG that was shut down above Turkey when I believe they were going into Syria or somewhere down there. But Turkey shot it down. They shot down the Russian aircraft. They just said, nope, not going to happen. Get the hell out of here. They shot it down. There was a little back and forth, tit for tat, but it didn't turn into nuclear war. And it's not going to turn into nuclear war. It's not.
We are aggressively being challenged. Russia and China
are expanding their militaries and their capabilities at speed and scale with little transparency. Their defense industries are producing weapons and heavy military equipment at an incredible rate. Not just to show off at big parades in Moscow and Beijing, but to secure spheres of influence, project power, and undermine the rules-based international order. This year alone, Russia is expected to roll out at least 1,500 tanks, 3,000 armored vehicles, and hundreds of Iskander missiles. As for China, it already has the world's largest navy and some of the largest defense companies in the world. Their military build-up...
So not per tonnage, per ship. I believe per tonnage we have the highest capability navy.
...points in a clear direction. They are preparing for long-term confrontation and competition with us. We are aggressively...
So there you have it. I mean, this is turning into something bigger. Oh yeah, and this.
Mr. President, who do you blame for losing India to China in your post?
And then we have this. We have India backing China now.
Earlier today in the morning, you did put that out.
I don't think we have. You know, I've been very disappointed that India would be buying so much oil, as you know, from Russia. And I let them know that. We put a very big tariff on India, 50% tariff, very high tariff. I get along very well with Modi, as you know. He's great. He was here a couple of months ago. In fact, we went to the Rose Garden and the grass was so soaking wet.
Oh,
it was such a terrible place to have a news conference. I said, well, let's use a beautiful white stone emblematic of the White House, okay? And it's been very well received. But we had a news conference on the grass. It was my last news conference I had on the grass because everybody sunk in. You probably sunk in. Every reporter out there, they ruined their shoes.
Why would anybody want to make business with us when we have a president of such character? Oh yeah, and did anybody hear about the failed mission in North Korea?
US President Donald Trump has long claimed to have had an extraordinary relationship with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. In 2019, after a number of meetings with the North Korean leader, he did what no American commander-in-chief had done before, and that was step inside North Korea. What's even more extraordinary about this moment 6 years on is there's now fresh claims that months earlier, as President Donald Trump had approved a top-secret and risky mission to plant a listening device in North Korea at a time when he and Kim Jong-un were in high-profile nuclear talks. The New York Times reports Navy SEALs ventured out in nuclear submarines before being launched in mini-subs towards the shore, but when they arrived under the cover of darkness, something went wrong. A Navy SEAL spotted a boat, unsure if there were fishermen or military officers on board, opened fire, killing them. It turned out they were unarmed civilians. The listening device, according to the New York Times, was never planted, the mission deemed a failure. President Donald Trump, asked about it today, had this to say in response.
I don't know anything about it. No. I could look, but I know nothing about it.
Can you confirm that it happened?
I don't know anything about it. I'm hearing it now for the first time.
But those behind this report in the New York Times say that transparency is the reason why it is.
I don't know anything about it. I'm hearing it for the first time, which means he knew everything about it and he didn't hear it for the first time.
Being reported now, and that those inside the special operations world say that there is little scrutiny. The report also claims the Trump administration may have violated the law by not informing members of Congress.
Oh, again, imagine that. He violated the law. He violated the law. Meanwhile, Russia gets direct flights now into North Korea.
Very few people get to see the view descending into the North Korean capital. But now, Russian tourists can. For the first time since the mid-1990s, there are now direct commercial flights from Moscow to Pyongyang. For decades, the only way to fly into North Korea was a quick hop from Beijing or Vladivostok. It takes a couple of hours on vintage Soviet jets operated by Air Koryo. That's North Korea's only airline. I've made the trip 19 times. It's like stepping into a time machine. North Korea's aging fleet cannot make the 8-hour direct flight from Moscow, but now Russia's Nordwind Airlines will fly the route. And get this, they're using a US-made Boeing 777.
Why not? Why not fly from Moscow into North Korea on Boeing 777s? Why not? What?
Tickets about $560. First flight already sold out. As military ties between Moscow and Pyongyang have strengthened in recent years, so have exchanges between their people. So Russians can now fly 4,000 miles direct from their capital to North Korea, but no trips are possible from South Korea's capital, Seoul, only about 120 miles away. How does that make sense? Well, it's complicated. North and South Korea are still technically at war. The Korean War in the 1950s ended with an armistice, but no peace deal, and the two sides are not talking right now. This is North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's younger sister and trusted aide, Kim Yo-jong. She became
she looks like such a psychopath.
First known member of the ruling Kim family to visit South Korea since the armistice during the Winter Olympics in 2018. Since then, things have gone downhill. Even though South Korea's new president, Lee Jae-myung, says he wants to improve relations with the North, Kim's sister just issued a harsh statement saying, in part, "There can be no change in our state's perception of South Korea as the enemy. The idea that the people of the two Koreas are of the same race is a delusion, and there is nothing to sit down with South Korea about or discuss."
So strengthening ties with Moscow. North Korea is my little Yoda talk there. Here's a little bit of what China's doing.
China. And they aim that by 2049, China will be the predominant world power. But there's another anniversary as well. The 100th anniversary of the foundation of the Chinese Armed Forces. And they aim that by that anniversary, they would produce armed forces which can take on anyone in the world. When does that one come up? 2027. China. And they aim that by 2049, China will be the predominant world power. But there's another anniversary as well. The 100th anniversary of the foundation of the Chinese Armed Forces. And they aim that by that anniversary, they would produce armed forces which can take on anyone in the world. When does that one come up? 2027.
2027's the deadline. My kind of chick right there, or it's only the ones I end up with. That's hilarious, Cypher. Cypher knows how to pick them.
UN globalist staffers were basically plotting to set up the president of the United States. And first it was the escalator, then it was the teleprompter, and then Katie Pavlich from Town Hall, who we offered a seat in the press pool to cover the president's historic speech today, noticed that the audio inside of the room was much lower and different for the president of the United States than the previous speaker. So when you put all of this together, it doesn't look like a coincidence to me. And I know that we have people, including the United States Secret Service, who are looking into this to try to get to the bottom of it. And if we find that these were UN staffers who were purposefully trying to literally trip up the president and the first lady of the United States, well, there better be accountability for those people. And I will.
Yep. It's all a big conspiracy, right, guys? Meanwhile, inside of California, we've got huge movements of armor.
What the fuck is going on here? There's more coming over there. Oh my God, ¿y eso qué es? ¿De quién es la guerra? ¿De quién es la quinceañera? ¿De los avientan y balas? Oh, de una Marta, ¿esos avientan balas? Sí. Mira, ahí vienen los cafeses, babe.
Hey, I'm gonna pass this to you guys as TikTok for you guys to post it, okay?
Hey, haces video ahí también.
This is in Fresno, California, right here.
Enseñes el desmadre,
this is
el alboroto.
What's this? Ashland and Fruit Street?
¿Cuál? Oh, el Bath and Body. Oiga los carros, mami. El Bath and Body, sí. Los sprays huelen ricos.
It keeps on going all the way down. Look at that. Look at that.
Te andamos buscando ayer, le decía a la Isabela. Ivonne me dijo que se iba a meter y no se metió.
What do they need all this for?
Te quedaste dormido. Sí, yo le
I know there's a lot of movements of military equipment often, but what is the reason for such a large convoy going through California?
diciendo, mira, son bien muchos. Ya acabó, mira. Ah, sí, pero eran bien muchos.
I mean, these are nice equipment too. These aren't like they're pulling them out of some yard where they're rotting.
¿Y eso es para qué? ¿Se van a ir a la guerra o qué? ¿Para qué? ¿Para hacer desayuno? Algo traman. ¿Qué días descansa?
Tengo que levantarme, se levanta a veces a las 5, 5:30, 6.
Ah. Puede ser si no.
I have no idea.
So, ¿y qué días descansa?
Large movements. I feel like things are escalating, guys. I do. We'll save Preston for later, but yeah, I think that's all I got for you guys. I think that's it. Let's see if I missed anything before I go. We looked at UN. We listened to Zelensky. We saw the children getting ready for a multi-generational conflict in Russia. We saw Poland and other states getting ready for conflict. That was not Ukraine. That was Fresno, California. Did I miss anything? Did I miss any headlines behind the scenes? There's been so much of Charlie taking over the feeds and everything. I think I covered everything. Covered that too. Yeah, it looks like it. This one, I think everybody's already seen this though. Iskander missiles closer to Poland. So that could be also part of the war games too. Russian Federation has deployed Iskander tactical missile systems near the Polish border in the Kaliningrad region. So I say they're getting ready. I say there's going to be troops on the ground by next year in NATO countries. That's my opinion, guys. That's my opinion. Listen up. Thank you for being here. Oh, I got to get up and stretch. I got to do things. Sorry for the hiccup on the audio, but I thought I'd cover some stuff that's going on over there. It does look like tensions are getting worse. And then, you know, we had Zelensky speaking to the UN. We had Trump seeming like he just wanted to back out. That wasn't a supportive speech of Ukraine. That was Ukraine's doing fine on their own. They don't need our help. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. That's what that said to me. I didn't feel any support. I know a lot of people are probably going to try to spin it like, oh, Trump's helping. No, he's not. He's not helping. And it does seem like the weapon systems he wants to keep at home. So, war's coming. Get your house in order. Make the choices. Be prepared. It's going to happen. We're going to be involved in a global conflict, guys. One way or another. Where we go into, who knows? It'll probably be like something like Mexico. Probably be... oh, yeah, Vladimir Putin pops in the chat. Vlad, what's your plans? Are you going into the NATO countries? I'd like to know. Sure seems that way. Guys, consider becoming a member also. Let's get the channel growing. Hit the like and subscribe if you haven't. I'll be back for more coverage. We're getting back into live streaming. This is my first real one back for a little while. I'm going to try to do daily updates if I can as well. And I'm going to play some DayZ later on my gaming channel. So if you haven't, please, let me pop it up here. Subscribe to this one right here. I changed the name of it. Changed the name of it. We rebranded. It is the Chunger Games. At the Chunger Games. Right here. We're going to play some DayZ tonight. I'm going to play some DayZ. I'm going to go on a run. Playing some Magic. Played Project Zomboid the other day and had freaking Merc hysterical in tears. That was great. DayZ runs. DayZ's happening tonight. I want to play some DayZ. Might go on a fresh run and just go for it. But we're gonna play some Battlefield coming up here in a few weeks too. I'm taking time off for the release, but please, if you could, subscribe over there. Links in the description. And that's all I got. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. The Chunger Games is perfect. Yeah, I think Nomad came up with that one. Gotta love it. The Chunger Games. Yes. All right. Thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate the hell of it. I'll see you on the next one. Also, I heard reports of something happened in Frisco. If they're going to do a protest there, I might go live later on that and skip the gaming. But for right now, I'm sticking to the gaming. All right. I'll talk to you later. Peace out.
They wave their flags like they own the sky, shouting loud, but they don't know why. Books untouched, their minds run dry. Truth's a stranger, they pass right by. Oh, false flags flying high, empty hearts where the truth won't lie. They scream of love for the land they claim, but their wicked deeds bring only shame. But their wicked deeds bring only shame. But their wicked deeds bring only shame. They chant the words they barely know, hollow pride in a shallow show, pointing fingers where the winds don't blow, building walls where the rivers flow. Oh, false flags flying high, empty hearts where the truth won't lie. They scream of love for the land they claim, but their wicked deeds bring only shame. But their wicked deeds bring only shame. But their wicked deeds bring only shame. A patriot's heart should beat with grace, not with fists or a hate-filled face. If love's the seed, then let it grow, not in shadows, but where light will show. Oh, false flags flying high, empty hearts where the truth won't lie. They scream of love for the land they claim, but their wicked deeds bring only shame. Oh, false flags flying high, empty hearts where the truth won't lie. They scream of love for the land they claim, but their wicked deeds bring only shame. But their wicked deeds bring only shame. But their wicked deeds bring only shame.
Why would you think Michelle Obama's a man?
Well, do a little research. Just do a little research.
But that's like out there.
What's out there is the fact that her walking out in a skirt, and there's an obvious bulge where there shouldn't be one.
Another day. Just run till you take your last breath. There's no time to sit around being lazy. Renegade junk is gonna grind out daisy. Survival schemes, raiding dreams like you don't care. Zombies crumbing on some bodies like a nightmare. Grabbing loot in the spawn might just find there. And the goons shooting at me, yeah, we're out there. Keep the thing, try light a fire if you're crazy. Survivors out there shooting, yeah, that's day. They try to take my loot, but I'm fast and I'm sneaky. Hearing footsteps in the woods, yeah, that's creepy. But I'm a wolf and all of you looking sheepy. Knock you gone, now you feeling little sleepy. Waking up, your loot's gone, don't go crazy. Another day, another death, yeah, that's Daisy. Hear the bullets crack by your head, make you screech. Run, cover, keep your gun by your reach. Wear your armor and a helmet is what we preach. Or get your ass sent back to the
for killers who shoot at you through a lens. But this is how the story ends.